What's up everyone? So in this video I want to go through why controlled articulator rotations are important and why cars or just joint rotations are crucial for any performance training, any movement itself, longevity, the quality of life, the freedom of movement. So in this video you will understand why I give cars in every student and myself in every single training. Pretty much every single day, all my students do cars. Every single day they move the spine, they move the shoulders, the hips, and I will break down based on science why this is important and why you should do this also to improve the movement of your body. All right, so what are cars? Cars are why cars are important? Fuck, already messed it up. So why cars are important? So first and foremost, what are cars? Cars are controlled articular rotations. So it's basically it's a space that your joint moves through, okay? There's good cars and then there's poor cars. I wouldn't say there's bad, but there's cars that can be improved. So why cars are important in my training? So first and foremost, cars are essentially one of the best ways that exposes your active range of motion through your joint. So I also use cars as an assessment. Because you can see how your joint, your shoulder blade rotates. For instance, let me go and so here's the shoulder cars, right? So when I do this sideways, I can see where my body is overcompensating, right? So is this any twisting? No, I'm not twisting. So this gives you a guidance to if I can't move here from sideways, I can see someone's spine extending. If I can't move here or into the abduction, I can see there's these tissues are stopping, or maybe inside the tissue, inside the scapula, wherever the tissues I think might be stopping my student from moving. So cars are a great strength tool. It's also a great tool that allows you to assess your clients. So these articulations will determine how well your system can accomplish a given task, which is a movement, right? If you have poor shoulder cars or shoulder rotation, that means that will bleed into that will leak into a movement, right? And when you don't have a good shoulder rotations or hip rotations or spine rotations, over time, because you're not treating the foundation and you're not strengthening the foundation will become even poorer. It will become even more tight. It will has lack of a complexity. And what I mean complexity is simply you have more options. You get to choose from more variabilities, right? And complexity is just a word that it's also intelligent, because when your body can move through a different dimensions, meaning different movement zones, that's intelligence. That's your body has been taught to adapt through a very complex spaces, right? So see these articulations as brushing your teeth, but for your joints. And I will explain it to you. I have a few science papers here explaining it to a technical level, but when you understand what these papers tell you, you then start to understand why these little things are so important. So we need to also ask, what creates a movement, right? What creates movement? Space. I mean, if there's no space, you cannot create movement. If you live in a 100 square feet house, and you have a lot of movement to move through, versus if you live in a 5 square meter house or square, you know what I mean. Meaning I have very little options to move and sprint and jump. So same with movement in your joint space is the bigger the joint space, again, context is needed. There's hypermobility people, there's people that cannot move the joint. But the more space it has, the more you need to take care of the space, the more you have freedom to move through the space, you know what I mean? So what creates movement is space. Because if you don't have space, there's no movement to be created. So that's why cars are super important. All right, so what is movement? Movement is life. Movement is happiness. Movement is, I like to draw. So movement is life. Movement is happiness. Movement equals quality of life. Movement equals more experience. Let me actually go. Oh God, guys. Let me do this. You fucking read it anyway, but it's okay. And movement equals better sex life. Movement equals intelligence. Movement equals freedom. Movement equals more energy. And the list goes and goes and goes. And again, all of this ties down to joint space, right? You probably have had injuries. Injury equals fear, limitations. Correct, right? You have injury, you have limitations. You can't do half of the things you could have done before. And to prevent this, we have to pay attention. We have to expand our strength training through internal space, which is joint capacity to move. All right? And this is why a lot of coaches don't know, like, they don't know what they don't know, right? I didn't know this shit before I was getting injured, before I was kind of like pulling hair out and thinking, fuck, I'm not the best coach I could be because I'm constantly getting injured. So I had to dive deep in. I had to look for things. I had to ask things. I'm like, why am I getting injured? And I qualified myself to understand things that many coaches don't understand, or maybe they understand it through a different lens. And that doesn't mean they're bad coaches. It's just they don't have the resources, or they are not willing to, move out of their dogma or their way of training and expand their curiosity elsewhere, right? So what I'm saying is that there's a lot of misinformation about what is important and what needs to be paid attention to on the internet. Let me put myself here. All right, so we have a movement. So we know, movement is everything. So let's go here. Lack of movement? What happens? Simple. I actually need to move this out of here. Maybe move it here. There we go, that's better. So what movement is it? When you don't move at all, you degenerate. You are getting closer to entropy, which is a universal cycle that some of you, it's also, so entropy causes atrophy, all right? There are different things, they're the same but different things. Lack of movement equals pains, weaknesses, protection. It equals anxiety, depression, because you are stopped releasing the chemicals that keep you, satisfied with your life. Cognitive decline. There's studies about how, even just walking 30 minutes a day can improve the way you think. Poor circulation and immunity. Again, that goes to cars or controlled or joint space. If you do not have a good joint space, you're gonna have a poor circulation, and then that will evolve into adhesions. It will evolve into injuries and less quality of life. Again, my English might sound incorrect, but you know what I mean. Decreased confidence and energy. You know, I've been in a space where I've, you know, trained and I injured myself, and then I'm like, fuck, I don't know if I'm doing things that I should be doing because I'm injured, you know, and it decreases the confidence because you can't train, you lose muscle, you lose strength. You know, it's, especially as a man, it's important. This is so important as a man. Loss of freedom. Again, when we go back, movement equals freedom. Why? Because good amount of space in your joint will create a room to move through and move from. And many more disadvantages. So why I teach people to take care of their joints? Because if they don't, this is what's going to happen. And it will happen so slowly. It's like I say, this is like a losing a battle with 1,000 cuts. You know, when you don't take it, there's one cut, there's the 2 cuts, 3, and then till it builds up that the whole fucking body is inflamed and there's been 1,000 cuts given, and then suddenly there's just, you have a hip surgery, you have a shoulder surgery, you have your L5, L4 fused together, you have your cervical fused together. People only pay attention to this when it's too late. So what allows you to move with ease, which I already spoke about, that it is a space and strength in your joints. So we're going to go through what I think, and these are the notes that, pardon me, I've gathered. So first and foremost is, so joints, the engine of movement. Your muscles don't create motion, your joints do. Every motion starts inside the capsule. That's where your nervous system reads positions, pressure, and tension. And again, these are part of the Golgi tendons and mechanoreceptors and connection between your biology and neurology. So these are networks that afferent and efferent networks. So from your joint or the sarcomeres, the fibers to your spinal cord, and from your spinal cord to the movement. So if your joints don't move well, your brain limits how much muscle you can use. So movement starts with space inside the joint. You can't move where you can't move. Cars keep the engine alive. They maintain lubrication, capsule, tension, and neural clarity, so every muscle knows its job. And here are studies. Basically, you can, these are, so you can just copy and paste. Oh, what am I doing? Fucking hell. So this is something you can just copy and paste. And then what I do with these studies, I don't have time to read everything. So I use Perplexity, and I use other AIs just to kind of confirm that this is correct. And I'll have mentors that share this with, and I kind of understand it. So basically these studies shows inside every joint these little sensors that work like GPS trackers and alarm systems, which is Golgi tendons and mechanoreceptors and all these connections between your body and nervous system. They tell your brain exactly where your body is in space, what angle your knee is bent, how fast your shoulder is turning, and how much pressure your ankle feels. So when these sensors send clear information, your brain can move your body smoothly and safely. If the sensors stop working because you don't move enough, your brain loses the map. So your movement becomes clumsy, stiff, or even dangerous. Think of these sensors like the parking sensors in a car. They keep you avoiding hitting things and guide every small adjustment to make while driving. So this is why it's important to do cars every single day, because it's lubricating these connections. Okay. So second, we have tissue, the structure that translates force. And again, the question was, what allows you to move with ease? So your connective tissue, fascia, tendons, ligaments is a transmission system. It transfers the force your muscles create into the bones that move you. It's like the gears of your car. If they're dry, stiff, or uneven, you waste power or snap apart. Healthy tissue equals elasticity, responsiveness, and resilience under load. Again, training slow twitch versus fast twitch is you have to train that to improve that. And there's like a hierarchy of the levels of the tissue's resilience. And I would, again, there's studies about this, the fascia, tendons, and whatnot. And these are just few things that have so many other studies. But what these studies say is around your muscles and joints, it is a stretchy web called fascia, along with tendons which attach muscle to bone, and ligaments which hold bones together. They're like strong elastic cables that let your body absorb force, store energy, and move powerfully. When you train or move, tiny cells inside these tissues called fibroblasts feel the stretch and the load. And I forgot to mention, these are also part of the sensory mechanisms that allow you to understand and learn the movement itself. Then they rebuild the tissue to make it stronger, thicker, and more resilient. So this is where the collagen starts to evolve into. Some of these tissues also have their own sensories, helping your body know exactly how much tension it's creating, like internal feedback loop for control and power. And these are something to do with Golgi tendon stuff. So think of connective tissue like the suspension system in a car. It smooths out every bump, keeps everything connected, and adapts to how you drive. And again, in order to influence connective tissue, there's a techniques and mechanisms that we cannot ignore. Okay, which again, there's going to be a video about this. So put it together, joint sensors, your internal navigation system, keeps movement safe and precise. That's why cars are super important. Connected tissues equals your strength web, transfers and absorbs force, adapting to stress. Together, they make you movement intelligent, safe, and adaptable. When you move daily, especially through full range joint ranges, you're training both systems to stay alive and responsive. Move often, move with control. That's how your sensory stays sharp and your tissue stays strong. Again, you can check out these papers. These are one of many papers that I didn't want to give you everything because I have everything. I'm gonna have like a folder in my community that I'm just building now. I have 0 members at the moment, but I'll be releasing it in the next week or so. And then if you watch this video, you should have the link in the descriptions. It's a very small purchase. It's like £30 a month, but you're gonna get so much from it. All right. Third. Three. So a nervous system, the software. Your brain is the driver and the limitator. It decides how much movement you're allowed to access. If the brain feels unsafe, if a joint lacks control or feedback, it locks you down. That's why stretching alone doesn't work, but stretching is important. You must teach your nervous system to trust each range through controlled strength. Mobility isn't flexibility, it's your nervous system's permission to move. 1 second. All right. The breath. Breath is super important also. Breathing is how you stabilize pressure, regulate tension, and fuel movement. A held breath is locked movement. A deep rhythmic breath restores motion through your entire kinetic chain. The diaphragm to pelvic floor. If you breathe, if your breath is stuck, your body is stuck. And again, there's these things that I see on social media that, they're like, release your body, your body with breath. Okay, that's a terrible body, you know what I mean. And what they don't mention is like, okay, I released things, but this release is not adaptation. And we have to understand that we have these laws or these principles, so like Davis law or a Wolff's law or a principle of specificity or principle of adaptation that teaches us that we need a demand, a tension, force, stress, adaptation, right, load in order to adapt. So breath on its own is you're not gonna get strong by just releasing the muscles, right? So you release the tension that you are holding maybe in your diaphragm or your rib cage or your serratus or your pelvic floor. Cool, okay, this helps, right? I'm not saying that this is not something anyone should do. I think everyone should do this. But then it's like, okay, you opened up your system, you created some space, then what the fuck do you do now? You adapt, you apply force, you apply tension, you apply pressure, you teach your body to relearn these new sensories through this space you haven't accessed it because you've been stuck, okay? What else we have here? Muscles. Oh, that was, what is it? Okay, I forgot. Okay, it's okay. So muscles are actuators of intention. I can't pronounce the word. They respond to electrical impulses and create tension, torque, and stability, but they only perform when the joint. I'm gonna sneeze in a minute. Oh my god. Fuck. But they only perform when the joint allows movement and the tissue can handle load. I'm gonna snooze. Come on, I want to sneeze. Sneeze, sneeze, sneeze. No, I can't sneeze. Muscles are the expression, not the source of movement. Again, biology has to work with your, where's neurology? With your neurology. And we have a biological elements and neurological mechanisms that I speak in one of the videos on my YouTube. By the way, I have a bit of a weird fucking sinuses blockage. Fucking Bali and pollution. I love Bali. I love you, Bali. Just a bit struggling with breathing. Okay, the mind, the command center. The movement is a reflection of awareness. If your mind is distracted, your movement is disconnected. When you bring intention into your reps, into your rotations, your lift, your gait, you move from habit to conscious control. That's how you evolve from exercise to training presence. So that's why I always do, what I always remind to my clients are that you have to move with intention. Otherwise, you're just mindlessly moving. And let me paint a picture, right? So this is a storytelling, okay? So story. Right, everyone has a vehicle that they can train, upgrade, right? The vehicle equals body, right? And we have a tasks to move through, right? And these tasks, let me actually do it this way. I see these as roads. Let's say these are roads, okay? So these are roads, and these roads are just movement, right? These are just roads that allow you to navigate through life, okay? So see this as a road. So this is a road, all right? So this is life. Technically, this is your training. This is the amount you sit. And this is all the hikes you do. This is all the snowboarding trips you do. This is surfing and whatnot. Right. So we have a car, okay, which is a vehicle. We have an engine, that is the biological elements and neurological mechanisms. We have a steering, and steering is your joint's capabilities. So this is how I look at it. Let's say I know I have a good mobility. I know my body moves pretty well, pretty decent. So moving through this task or these corners, you know, I need a good steering. I need to be able to navigate through this without getting stuck. So the more, let's say this is a steering, okay? The more I can rotate one direction and other, the better corners or most extreme corners I can adapt to and navigate through, right? So this is mobility, okay? And I have available the whole 36 degrees of movement, so I can move. This is like a really good steering, all right? Where you get another vehicle, Someone who doesn't do mobility, or someone that has pain or stiff shoulders or stiff spine, their degree of freedom is just, let's say, just this. They can just move this much. They can't move any more than this, whereas I can move the fucking whole 360, right? So what does this tells me? Okay, this tells me that that they cannot enjoy their experience. Meaning, if they were keeping up with me, my mobility, it would be a struggle for them to move here. Let me change this to. It would probably struggle to move here. It would be probably struggle to move here. There's no way they would maybe move here. There's no way they could do this turn. So they would get stuck. And that means they would go back. They would have to go back and find another way. But what I mean by movement is freedom is I can enjoy my body. I can enjoy the environment. Why? Because I have degree of freedom. I have large degree of freedom. You know what I mean? Whereas this vehicle lack and is limited. So this is how I see our bodies. So engine, steering. So steering calibration is just joint stability. You can have a great steering, but when you go through a corner with certain amount of speed, the steering is gonna shake and not gonna handle it. So this is a steering calibration. Then we have steering fluid, how smooth the steering rotates, right? How well it turns left and how well it turns right, which is the synovial fluid that keeps, the circulation going, and again, it gives your nervous system to remember that we have these spaces available. Okay. Then we have a steering cable, so joint capsule mechanoreceptors. Then we have wheel alignment, so joint congruence and articular spacing. Then we have Jeep car GPS, which is afferent and efferent connections or networks. And this is, I see as like, there's two lanes of the road. How efficient is the car to stay in the same lane? And does the car understand that it has to stay in the same lane? And this is the afferent and efferent connections or networks or intelligence that you are feeding your biology and your nervous system to expand on this knowledge, right? So this is why it's important to have your cars and understand what creates the movement, right? The movement is space. And if you don't have space, you don't have movement. I'll give you some examples of cars. So as you saw at the beginning, these are cars, shoulder cars. Again, you can do it in a different way. You can lock yourself in a position and try and really just isolate the specific cars. We have hip cars. And all of these cars are part of the community. I have around 700 plus videos of exercise explained. So what you do is, so this is a 2-minute video. You will see me, I'm gonna explain this. I explain every single cars. I make sure that you are not stuck and you know exactly what you should feel. These are kneeling thoracic cars, again for your spine. We have, neck cars. We have, elbow cars. Like every joint has to have a freedom. So another thing is about this, right? Elbow cars. So if you cannot supinate or move your palms up, imagine what happens when you do a chin up. If you have only this much of a supination, right? So you're here. Imagine what happens if I had to reach my bar. I would have to overcompensate through the whole body to get into the chin up position, and that would create a fucking it would create compensation, and that would create a injury. So doing elbow cars, people laugh at me. It's like, why the fuck would I ever do this? I don't feel anything happening. You don't feel it, but you don't understand. That's why you're not doing it. You're not doing this because you don't understand. And it's okay. It's fine. Like, I didn't understand this. I didn't know why. Like, when I first did cars, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, this is such a simple movement. How is this so important to me? And I understood. I read some science. I spoke to people that do this for a living. And I was like, fuck, it makes total sense. And I do this every training session, every day. So, let me know if this helped in comments, because I want to try and expand your thinking. I want you to learn from this. I want you to understand why you're training the way you train. My goal is to help you become a mover, help you connect to yourself, to your body, right? We are so disconnected from our bodies, and it's sad to see, especially men and women. I think both of us. But I want you to use this as a curiosity. I don't want you to tell what you should do. I just want to explain why I do this and why this is important to me and in my student training. So for more information and more these little things, I do have a school community. I'm building it. I will release it. So it's 28th of October now. I'm going to release it in a week. So it should be in a section, comment section. So, but yeah, have a fantastic rest of the day. Let me know if this helped. Comment, please. Help this channel to grow, because I want to help you and I want to create community. So peace out.